Good morning and welcome. It's that time once again, the Patriot Radio News Hour. Over 20 years we've been right here. All thanks to the best customers on the planet. I mean, really, that's the way we do it. We're all self-funded. We don't, no fancy spokesman, no beautiful people. Just me. The guy with the face and the body made for radio. I'm Joe Jaquin, CEO of the Patriot Trading Group. A gorgeous day. You know, winter's finally here. Well, all right, winter. Winter in Arizona is like, hey, it's going to be in the 70s and get down into the 50s at night, maybe even into the 40s. That is what we call winter. I got my jacket here in the studio. I wear it in the morning, and then I'll wear it at night because we like to pretend it's cold. But right now the sun is shining, and I'm glad I don't live in California. Holy cow, the whole thing's on fire. You know what they never say? And I looked today. I tried to find out how it started, and no one really said. Like the fires last month up there in the Napa area. No one actually really said how it all started. I saw one article where they said it may have been started by a transformer box or an electrical. I don't. I'm not an electrician. I don't know about electricity other than when I come in, I flip the switch and the lights come on. But even that, I didn't get any confirmation. And the funny thing is there's not one fire burning. There's like 5. I don't know. Maybe. Is somebody setting California on fire? I'm just saying. Our toll-free number, 800-951-0592. The website at allamericangold.com. And I hate to do it. You know what? I'm going to say this. I'm going to try. I'm not promising, but I am going to try that today will be the last time I talk about Bitcoin. And I'm not. I can't even promise it because it is so incredible that I can't help talking about it. Here's how Bitcoin hit $16,000 today. In the last, let's call it less than 1, 2, 3, 4. In the last 4.5, give or take, days. Bitcoin spent 2 days between 9 and 10,000, a day between 10 and 11. I missed this one, so a little more than, let's call it about 10 days here. 6 days between 11 and 12. 17 hours between 12,000 and 13,000. 4 hours from 13,000 to 14,000. 10 hours from 14 to 15, and 5 hours from 15 to 16. Anyone see a bubble here? Nope, not me. The market cap, by the way, now of Bitcoin. Bitcoin is now larger than Procter & Gamble and is getting ready to take out Walmart. That's pretty big. It is, I think, the 12th largest company now. I don't know if it's a company or not, but market cap wise, in the entire S&P 500, driven by news of the imminent launch of Bitcoin futures, they're saying, is the reason behind it. And really, I would almost think that'd be a reason to sell it, because if these guys are involved and they start, the CBOE and all of them start with their futures, that they're going to start regulating it. But Bloomberg announced that brokerage firm TD Ameritrade will be offering Bitcoin future trades to their clients. How about that? Even J.P. Morgan Chase may follow suit, even though Jamie Dimon says that they won't. We'll see. If there's money to be made, I'm sure that they'll do it. Ron Paul wants to know, would you take $10,000 in Bitcoin, cash, or something else if you had to hold it for 10 years? Okay, so think about that. Bitcoin, cash, bonds, or gold were the 4 options. Write down, this is how you can tell we're at. I mean, Bitcoin was the winner. 54% of people said, I'll take Bitcoin and wait 10 years. 36% said gold. 8% said 10-year treasury bonds. Now, that may not be as dumb as it looks. Because, 10 years from now, it'll be very, very interesting what this manipulated bond bubble looks like. And then the smartest people in the room, 98% of you were smart enough not to pick Federal Reserve notes. Only 2% said, give me dollars. And I guess that's really kind of the biggest thing that we talk about here is ensuring and protecting your wealth. And they actually went all the way. And I'll continue to say it. I think that the technology is here for the central banks. The rest of this is just, I don't know, this is just kind of crazy stuff here as we watch people, today, a county or a city, I can't remember if it was a city or a county in North Carolina was being held by ransom. They're not paying it, they said. Uber paid a ransom because they got hacked. They actually paid it. And then somebody in Europe, somebody else, all in the last couple of days. But nonetheless, Bitcoin, in a matter of, hours, has gone from 12,000 to 16,000. Doesn't sound like a bubble to me. 800-951-0592. I won't talk about it again, at least for the rest of the show. Patriot Radio News Hour. It is a world gone mad. It really, really is. I'll say this. I never imagined doing this. When I was growing up, I was going to be, I was going to be a professional baseball player, right? Like everybody else, right? I was going to play in the NBA. I'm sure, in my earlier youth, I probably wanted to be a fireman or a cop. But the doing a daily radio show, I never thought I would do. Even from the time I was young, I was 10 or 11 when I got this voice. Or I guess started to, I guess I was early puberty anyway. And everybody was like, man, you should go into radio. And how do you do that? I don't know. And then I got fortunate and lucky enough to meet my wife, who has led me to meeting Eric and Jim, which led me here. And I think back to when I first started doing this, and a lot of you out there have been listening all of this time, we actually had a shortwave show. And Eric had it for years. And we were only on in Colorado. We weren't on in Phoenix yet. And the first time I did it, our offices were in, if you remember this, actually when I first started, the offices were still at Eric's house when I first started. Then we moved to Carefree. And there's some of you in town. We actually started on the radio in Arizona when we were in Carefree. But at the time, we had a shortwave show. And the shortwave show was like the middle of the afternoon. I don't know, it was like 1 or 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And shortwave, there is nothing. You dialed the number, you dialed into the show, but then you had nothing else, right? There was no commercials, there was no bump music. If you needed a break, you had to have something ready, right? We had a CD player and stuff like that, but otherwise you had to talk the whole time. And over the years, hopefully I've gotten a lot better because I wasn't very good when I first started. But I think about all of the stuff that we talked about then, right? We are still talking about the Amero as a possibility as the reserve, the new currency. We are talking about the effects of NAFTA and GATT and really what the unintended consequences of those deals were. They were talk a lot about Alan Greenspan and all of the dismantling of all of the policies that have unleashed the greatest bubbles the world has ever seen. And it's funny, he was out on TV this morning sounding just like me, and I'm a little worried about it, talking about stagflation. But one of the things that, in all of these things, the debt, the unintended consequences of the pensions and all the liabilities and unfunded liabilities, which makes them even worse. I'm going to give you an example of how bad it really is. And this is going to be kind of a new take. Okay, because we hear, we talked about CalPERS yesterday, right? Went from a $2.9 billion surplus to now they're hundreds of billions underfunded, and it happened in less than 10 years. This is out of Michigan. Early Thursday, the legislature approved at fixing unfunded and underfunded municipal retirement plans. After deciding to abandon contentious proposals, including state intervention in communities unwilling or unable to solve the problem. The scale-back version of the bills, and there's multiple bills here, and with this scaled back, that's another way for let's take the least amount of medicine possible. Ran into resistance from police, firefighters, Democrats, Republicans, citizens of Michigan, potential cuts to health care benefits. Lawmakers will finish passing the 13 bills next week before adjourning for the year. People worry the cost of the liability jeopardizes basic city services, and if not addressed, the abilities for communities to meet their promises to workers and retirees. The nearly 600 Michigan municipalities that offer pensions, okay, so think about Michigan. There's 600 municipalities that offer pensions, have unfunded liabilities totaling, tens of billions of dollars. 180 of these 600 municipalities have funding ratios below 60%. So they're not even close, right? If you were grading, like my kids are in high school, if you came back with a test score that was below 60%, that's called an F, right? That's failure. According to the task force that was ordered to report to the governor, 340 governments, so that would be, I guess, municipalities, counties, right, all of these other forms as well, that provide retiree health care, have unfunded obligations with average funding ratio of only 19%. Right? We don't hear about any of this stuff, right? And we keep pretending that everything is wonderful in America. You know what? If we just pile up enough dirt and we pile up enough newspaper and we just pile it up and pile it up and pile it up, maybe nobody will notice. Local governments would have to pre-fund. Here's what they decided to do. This is the bills that they're going to pre-fund new higher retiree medical costs starting next July. And all that means is, right, if the government wants to hire somebody, any of these municipalities want to hire somebody, it's going to cost them a whole lot more money than obviously they don't have to begin with. There will also be multiple stage process to identify and address underfunded pensions and their health plans. They already identified them. The plans not meeting minimum funding thresholds. 40% funded for health care, 60% funded for pensions. Oh, now I understand. So let me jump back up. So the 600 cities, 180 of them have pensions below 140 or below 60% funded. 340 of the 60 have health plans below 19% funded. Those cities that remain will then be a board will be approved to help that city come up with corrective actions. And I guess my question to Michigan is, what do you think that really means? Corrective actions. Right? And the answer is, we got to come up with ways to get more money. The answer really is pretty simple. One way or another. Let's see. I guess if the 340 cities that don't fund their health care actually fund their pensions better than the 180 do it the other way around, every city pretty much in the state of Michigan is getting ready to stare down the barrel of tax cuts. The main reason, well, we know the reason, right? They made all these promises that they couldn't keep. But payments from the state of Michigan to the cities are $173 million below where they were 15 years ago. And this is happening everywhere, right? All of these states, all of them need this money. And I only bring it up because that's just one state. Wouldn't it be great to know in your state what the report cards are? Right, because the legislature, they go out of their way to hide it all. And, one of the reasons how Phoenix, and here we are, and I'll admit this. I'm going to tell you right now, this place is growing. We've got our son's playing a basketball game tonight that a school, that did not exist 10 years ago. The school, it's in town, sort of. It is, our younger son plays at 4. I told my wife last night, if we want to be there before the game starts, we better leave around 2:15. My older son plays at 7. We would have to leave our house by 5, maybe even 4:45, because that's rush hour. Right? We'd have to drive all through rush hour to get there because it's in way out Gilbert, which is a suburb of a suburb of a suburb of Phoenix, but it all blends together. And the only way we pretend that we have a balanced budget here is, we are just grossly underfunding our pensions. That's just what they did. And we start thinking about what really is happening, what really is going on. And I heard Donald Trump today come out and say, hey, we're going to get 6% GDP growth. I hope he's right. That would be great. Remember, we used to be able to do that. I don't think we will, but it would be nice to see if that would happen. It would be nice for people to make a whole lot more money. Speaking of health care, United States health care spending. Okay, so how much we spend on health care increased to $3.3 trillion in 2016. We're going to break that record. Now, by the way, that was a record. You think about GDP is closing in on 19 and 20 trillion. And I think this year we're going to healthcare spending is probably going to be about almost 20% of the economy. Out-of-pocket healthcare costs, right? Then really for us, isn't that the most important? Right? I don't, the 3.3 or 3.5 or 4 or 10 or 2 doesn't matter. How much is it costing us out of our pocket? These costs directly borne by the consumer rose 3.9% for the year. Now, you think about 3.9%. And then you say, well, if that happened for 10 straight years in a row, that'd be 39%, right? You're getting what I'm talking about. And, of course, they're sitting there and they still tell us there's no inflation. I think it's another one of the reasons why Alan Greenspan came out on TV today saying, hey, we're getting ready. We were in, what did he call it? I'm trying to think of what he called it. Stagnation is what he described the last 10 years. Stagflation is what he said is coming. And apparently the healthcare cost out of pocket says, yep, he's right. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break.
This is the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. Mrs. Schlafly was a courageous and articulate voice for traditional values and common sense for more than 70 years. And now, from the archives of Phyllis Schlafly Eagles, here is Phyllis Schlafly.
Today, December 7th, is the anniversary of the surprise Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor, a day that President Roosevelt said will live in infamy. The lesson we should take away from that event is that we should always be prepared for a surprise attack. After all, we live in a world where a lot of evil countries just don't like America and are jealous of our power. In the modern world of technology, the most important defensive weapon to protect the American people is an anti-missile defense. That's what Ronald Reagan called for in his famous speech in 1983. It is a purely defensive weapon. It isn't built to kill anyone. It's just built to save lives. What an anti-missile does is shoot down intercontinental ballistic missiles when they are flying through space to hit us and destroy them before they reach us. It's like hitting a bullet in flight with another bullet. We know we can do this because we've developed and tested our anti-missile technology, but there's still a lot more to do to get it operational. And if Barack Obama gets his way, we never will. He is using the terrible national debt and deficits as arguments to cut the military budget. Meanwhile, other countries, especially China and Iran, are rushing fast with a tremendous military buildup that is posing a big threat to our national security and even our survival. We should remember that the duty to provide for the common defense, as stated in the American Constitution, is one of the first and most important duties of our government. It's one thing individuals cannot do for ourselves. We need government to do it. On Pearl Harbor Day, we should remember that George Washington gave us the best advice. If we desire to secure peace, it must be known that we are at all times ready for war.
This has been the Phyllis Schlafly Report from Phyllis Schlafly Eagles. In 2016, the conservative movement lost one of our strongest leaders, but Mrs. Schlafly's work and her voice continue through this radio program, our work in Washington, and the influence you have in your own community. Be part of that legacy at phyllisschlafly.com. We encourage you to bookmark phyllisschlafly.com and join us again for the Phyllis Schlafly Report.
No, sir. Yes, ma'am.
Welcome back, Patriot Radio News Hour, 800-951-0592. Yesterday we were running rolls of dimes, cheapest in the country. We're still there, $62.50 per roll. Silver's actually down about 14 cents at $15.75. They are still. We've got. I don't know, I think we finished the day with 73 rolls left. Today, they're still $62.50, but if you want to put it on your credit card, I'll waive all the credit card fees. No credit card fees today on the silver dimes until they're out. Once we sell out of them, we're out of them. The cheapest way to buy government hallmarked silver today, in other words, it's been minted by the government. One of the reasons why people do ask, hey, why does it matter? Government hallmark or bar, and really forgery is the biggest reason behind that. And what I mean by that is it's a federal offense when you forge government hallmark material. So a lot of the forgers out there, right, they try to forge something, bars or things like that, because that's not a federal offense. It is a federal offense when you do government hallmark stuff, at least here in the United States. But nonetheless, pre-1965 dimes. Okay, so there's 50 dimes in a roll. It equates, like I said yesterday, $17.48 to the ounce. If you've never ordered from us before, today's a great day to do it, and it's so simple. My wife is the one that's here today, so she'll be answering the phone. And you just say to Sarah, I'd like to buy the special. That's all you got to say. That's it. And she's going to ask you one question. How many would you like? And then you tell her, I want 1 roll, 5 rolls, 10 rolls, however many it is. And then she's going to take, if you're a new customer, she'll take your information, your name, your address. She'll ask you how you want to pay for it. Obviously, we'd love it if you sent a check in, but if you want to put it on your card, no charge for that. No extra charge today for a card. And then once we have funds, we'll ship the product registered, insured, U.S. mail. That's it. Every time you order, you get a trade number. That trade number just locks us both in. So if silver falls $1 tomorrow, you don't call me tomorrow and want to pay less. And conversely, if it goes up $1, I won't call you and say, hey, I want you to pay more. And it's really just that simple. We don't play games. We don't try to run something and then, bait and switch and tell you not to buy that and buy something else and try to confuse you and make it complicated. This is as simple can be. We want you to buy wealth insurance, gold and silver, and we want you to buy as much of it as possible, as close to the spot price as possible. That's simple. 800-951-0592. By the way, and we don't call you either. So if you call us and order today, if you ask us to, we'll call you when we've shipped it. Other than that, you will not hear from us until you call us again. And if you're like, well, what do I do after I own it? What if I want to sell it? Call us. We buy it back. Absolutely. 800-951-0592. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about it again, but here it is. Bitcoin, Coinbase Exchange, they're the ones that, by the way, lost the fight with the IRS last week, says the digital currency broke 19,000 today. And it was last seen at $19,120. Tuesday night, Bitcoin hit 12,000. By Thursday morning, it's now 19,000. Here's what I loved about it, though. So they're talking to people. Jamie Dimon, Bitcoin's a fraud. They had former Fortress hedge fund manager Michael Negratz. Well, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's what I'm coming up with. Said cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin are going to be the biggest bubbles of our lifetime, but he also said Bitcoin could reach 40,000 before the end of next year. So there you go. So, plenty of room. Wow. That's it's. There you go. Maybe. When I was talking to Eric the other day, he was on to something. We should just take a bunch of money, buy Bitcoin, take the profits, pay off the debt. There you go, right? Problem solved. I mean, it went up $7,000 in less than 48 hours. How about that? Wow. That's awesome. Anyway, I'm sorry for that. I will try more and more to talk less and less about it because I do believe that this is, again, I think we're getting played. Really that simple. They're going to a digital currency, and I was thinking, before the show, I was talking about how we thought it was going to be in Amero. And I was learning from Eric and Jim, and it made sense, right? Hey, as these debts pile up, we're going to need to get bigger, right? Because one of the things that they talk about with debt, right? They like to do the debt ratio, debt to GDP ratios, right? And remember, back in the old days, if the yearly debt exceeded 3% of GDP, that was that was bad. Bad things would happen. Of course, we're well above that now. Nobody wants to pretend like it doesn't happen. If we don't talk about it, then they won't notice. It's just like when I first started, they used to give out the money supply. A lot of you out there remember it. The M1, the M2, the M3. And it wasn't very long. I wasn't here very long when that stopped. Right? They just stopped telling us. We're just going to stop telling them how much money we're making up out of thin air. And, of course, now we know why, right? Good reason to stop. But as the debt has exploded, and I think the debt was maybe right around $6 trillion when I started. Now here we are getting ready to hit $21 trillion. I think when Trump got inaugurated, it wasn't even at 19.8. I don't think. I'll look it up when he was inaugurated. So it looks like we're going to, just inauguration to inauguration, we're going to add $1 trillion in a single calendar year. By the way, and before I forget, I did not realize it's Pearl Harbor Day. Yeah, I forgot all about that. So I don't want to say Happy Pearl Harbor Day, but anyway, what that has to do, I don't know, but it was on my mind, so I had to get it out there. This is what happened. My mind is so full now. I've got to get rid of stuff, so now that's out so I can keep with my thoughts. But we're going to talk about why the Amero is gone and why the technology behind the Bitcoin is so important. Patriot Radio News Hour. We'll be back after the break. $800-951-0592. The last of the rolls of silver dimes, $62.50 a roll. You get 50 silver dimes in every roll, and today you can put it on your credit card. I know everyone loves their points, right? They love their miles or their points or their whatever it is that and they're all that way now, right? Every credit card has some type of reward-based system. Today, you can use those rewards-based cards absolutely at no charge. So you can put it on the Visa, MasterCard, American Express, or Discover card at no charge today, $62.50 at 800-951-0592. As we talked about, gold and silver are in the bottoming here for the year. This is the December pullback, and we got the last Janet Yellen Federal Reserve meeting coming next Wednesday. I still think it's going to be a rate hike. I guess now the question is how many dissenters are there going to be? But after that, I think we're going to see, again, 2018, we're going to see another rally. And I've been a fan of silver. Silver's underperformed significantly this year in relationship to gold, and I think 2018 will be a bounce-back year. So make sure pick a few rolls up here at the bottom at 800-951-0592. So I was talking about when I started, and common belief at that time was the Amero. And I know a lot of you out there are like, yeah, we used to talk about it all the time, right? In the the way we thought it was going to go would be, we were going to join forces with Canada and Mexico, and understand why the EU exists today, okay? And the European Union and the Euro, right? They needed their debts were so big that they needed a bigger GDP, right, to draw from. And so the reason why everyone says, well, the euro is just a placeholder currency, it's not going to really last all that long, is because all of these debts, regardless, are going to continue to keep exploding upward. And we thought we'd join forces with, Canada and Mexico, and when the debt was $5-6 trillion, I guess that could make sense. But at $20 trillion and growing, and let's face it, so the government says $30 trillion in 10 years. I'm telling you, it's going to be probably 40. That doesn't make sense. That's not big enough to fix the problem, because ask any of these economists who've never had jobs in the real world, don't even know what real world looks like, and like to operate on economic theory. A little bit of debt's okay, right? That's what they tell you. No, it's okay. It's only when it becomes a lot of debt that you got problems. Kind of look like use your own household as the example. Right? If you make $50,000, but your debt payments, are at let's say $18,000, you're like, that's okay. I'm all right there. Then it goes to it's at 50, and it goes to 25. Your debt payments, and you're still like, it's okay, right? And then it's 30. And then at 30, you're like, man, after I got to pay taxes, I got to do this and that, and then I need money to buy food and do and put gas in the car and buy the Obama insurance and all that, and all of a sudden you got a problem. But yet, guess what? The debt's still going to keep rising, and that's the problem. This is why they keep talking about wanting this inflation, right? Because inflation just means we can say we've got higher GDP without selling any more stuff, right? We made the stuff more expensive, so the GDP got higher. It's not working for them, right? It's not going high enough, fast enough. In other words, the increase in the debt is far exceeding the increase in the GDP. And so they need a way that was better than what the Amero offered. The Amero offered, hey, well, we can grab some GDP from Canada, from Mexico, but that's not big enough. And they would still have the same problem that they have today, which is the debt's probably still going to grow faster than the GDP because we can't, quote unquote, get this inflation. What a digital currency allows, now it allows them the ability, not only really when you think about it, this is the next major step towards the what I'll call the elites wanting of eliminating countries and eliminating borders, right, and eliminating all of this stuff, a global currency. They'll start with regional stuff, like we'll still have our own exchange rate, our own private exchange rate, and we'll pretend that we still have our nationality and all of that other stuff that goes along with it. But this digital currency will give these central bankers the ability to create whatever kind of inflation deemed necessary to be able to say, $40 trillion in debt's fine. Because GDP is 50, right? $40 trillion in debt's fine because GDP is 60, right? $70 trillion in debt's fine because GDP is $100 trillion. And how do you suppose we're going to get there? Well, the answer is now with the digital currency, all they got to do is go to the keyboard. And literally, you'd go to bed kind of like Bitcoin did today. You went to bed, Bitcoin was about 13,000. You woke up, it's 19,000. That's how it's going to work, ladies and gentlemen. Patriot Radio News Hour, final segment coming up. Welcome back, final segment, Patriot Radio News Hour, live radio. I was distracted. I was actually trying to get a count from my wife on the rolls of dimes, silver dimes, $62.50, waiving the credit card fee. So get your credit cards out. Buy yourself a Christmas present. $62.50 at 800-951-0592. We're going to cap it at 50 rolls. So 50 rolls. Because I'm just that bad at math. I'm running out of fingers and toes. So 50 rolls left at 800-951-0592. And we're talking about why, and how quickly things have changed. This is year 14? 14 years. We went from an Amero in $5 trillion to an electronic credit of some form at a debt of almost $21 trillion, right? So, kind of think about that and how quickly things have changed. And we live in this brand new world where monetary policy has gone into a full, we need to create inflation by any means necessary. And, of course, Alan Greenspan was out on TV today talking about, what I've been telling you, stagflation. It's coming. Whether you want it or not, here it comes. And it's coming at the worst time because there's a reason, let's face it, there's a reason why people aren't making any money. Because all these jobs have been automated, at least the ones, and they continue to be. I just saw the Amazon robot. Did you guys see that thing at the warehouses? I mean, now the person doesn't even have to walk down the walk the whole city mile of the Amazon warehouse. The robots will just pick up the stuff and bring it. They just got to pick it up and put it in the box. Probably won't be long till they'll do that too, but. Now we kind of understand that we needed something bigger. But then, you know what, they took interest rates to zero and didn't get inflation. At least not, and let me clear, the inflation that they want. They have negative rate. We still have negative rates on all kinds of bonds. Hundreds of billions of dollars worth of bonds are negative. We've got a 2-year note that's within half of a point of a 10-year note. By the way, the last time we'd been this low was 2007, right before the crash. Just saying, not saying that that's going to happen this time because history never repeats itself, but that's how it's at today. We now have this electronic currency that is seemingly going up thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in hours. And really highlights the power that they're going to have. And we even got one of them, the New York Federal Reserve Chairman Bill Dudley, before he steps down here I think in January or February, to say, hey, by the way, we're working on it. And everyone, we're working on it. We're researching it. We're looking into it. And really, at the end of the day, this is why they want to, and I think really think about why they've been boxing in all of your money and doing all of these other things. Everybody's going to have to be in the system. And that way, when they go make a data entry move to get the inflation that they need, it'll be instantaneously, and we can all take a bite. Rolls of silver dimes, $62.50, 800-951-0592. Take care. We got one more day. One more day till the week's over.